Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me in today's webinar. And my name's Andrew Fletcher, so I'm the Braille product manager here at Humanware. And today's webinar is about technology and the support for home learning. The year 2020 is somewhat memorable for all of us, whether it's for the good, the bad, or the challenges. And one of the many challenges for many of us during this pandemic has been creating and managing remote learning for our students. For many schools, remote learning has been easily adapted. However, for schools where we need to offer visually impaired student solutions, this has been extremely difficult and frustrating for all those involved. For example, I'm sure many of you can relate to this, but before the pandemic, many of you as TVIs would prepare resources in either Braille or large print well in advance. This is a challenge because it's not just that simple anymore. We have to post the content, which adds further delay. And it feels like remote learning has increased the work pace at times. I know from a work experience, working from home, it seems like I'm working all the time. Tactile graphics, again, is another challenging thing without the interaction with physical objects. And of course, the unable to access school to use such equipment to provide tactile information. We find that students are missing out on what is an important part of their learning journey. This is where technology solutions can play an imperative role in the student's learning, but also for the TVI's assurance that the student is getting all the means of resources quickly and efficiently. So today I'm going to go through some of the tools that can be introduced using Humanware's Braille products, and in particular it's the Braille Note Touch Plus Note Taker. Following that, we'll briefly discuss other refreshable Braille tools and introduce Humanware's new application, the Humanware Buddy, where there has been further enhancements that will aid both TVIs and your students when using a Humanware product. So first, we're going to look at Zoom. How can we adapt to Zoom and support a student from a distance? First of all, you will need the following tools. As a teacher, TVI, you will obviously need access to your laptop, iPad, iPhone, and preferably connected to the internet. Otherwise, your data usage will be extreme and your bill will be high. The application of Zoom, that certainly needs to be installed, and Zoom is a free application. On the student side, they will of course need the Braille Note Touch, they'll need access to Wi-Fi, and they will also need the Zoom application pre-installed. And you can install the Zoom application from the Play Store. Once you've got those in place, then you are in a good position to go. So I'm going to show you first of all how you as a TVI teacher would send an invitation. And there's two scenarios that we're going to look at today. But before we do that, there is one useful tip that I'm going to mention. And that is from the student's end, I would certainly recommend for the student to turn on their Braille viewer. And I'll go through that with you and how to turn that Braille viewer on in just a moment. So let me just get myself connected to my screen so that everyone can hear and see my screen content. Okay, so let me just share my screen.
Email.
Okay, so I've managed to connect my Touch Plus visual screen to Zoom so that everyone can hear and follow what I'm doing. So the first task that I mentioned is to get your student to turn on your Braille viewer. Now, what is a Braille viewer? Well, first of all, the Braille viewer is a viewer that will display the Braille that is being shown on the student's Braille display, but from a visual standpoint. So obviously you're not going to be there to read the Braille, but you can enable the visual screen so that you can physically see the Braille what the student is reading. Now, this can be really useful in a situation where maybe the student's not competent at Braille at this stage and perhaps needs a bit of guidance on what that Braille code is and what that word is for in fact. And for many other things, making sure that the student is using the correct Braille when they're typing. So the first thing to do from the main menu is we're going to go into the options menu. To get into options menu, we press the letter O with space. So O and space together will bring you into your options menu.
Configure language profiles.
Now, further more, once you're in the options menu, we're just going to use our space bar or our thumb keys at the very front to navigate to miscellaneous.
Keyboard config miscellaneous settings.
Okay, we're going to press the enter key to select miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous settings. Vibration feedback, tick box, not ticked.
Okay, and again, we're going to move forward by using either the space bar or the thumb key till we get to
managed format mark visual display visual Braille output, tick box, not ticked.
The visual Braille output. Okay, and again, we're just going to press enter, or you can press the cursor key to select that.
Ticked.
Now, what will happen is those that are light dependent that can see my screen, they will notice my Braille display being shown on the screen at the very top of my visual screen.
My menu, email, Keymail.
So that's the first thing that I would recommend when working at a distance, is to make sure that your Braille, visual Braille is enabled so that you can physically see the Braille that's being shown for the student. Once you've done that, then it's about sending the invitations, and there's two ways of sending out a Zoom invitation to the student. The first way is by an email. So if the student has an email that may be on the Braille Note Touch, you can send them a direct link to their email address, and I will show you what methods or how you would enable that from a student's point of view. So the student's just received an email from you as the TBI. How can I then activate that link and join the meeting? So first of all, when you set up your meeting of Teams, those that have never used Teams before, when you start Zoom, at the very, very top left-hand corner of your Zoom, there is a quotation mark. And once you click on that quotation mark, it gives you information about your current room. And there is a link that will allow you to copy the link. It copies the ID of that room. And all that you do is you press or select the copy link, and you send that as part of your email. So from the students, once they've received their email, so I'm now just going to go into my email.
New message. Read. Keymail. Inbox message blind Andrew Flutter's conversation.
Okay, and this is the meeting that or the invitation that was sent, which is from myself, of course. Now I've got 2 Zoom meetings on the go here, and I'm hoping that it's going to work. It should work, as I did it in practice. So let me just first of all select my meeting on my phone. Okay, and so now on the email, I'm going to select on the email.
Web yesterday. View details.
Now, as I continue to move forward through this email, you're going to hear that we're going to be in a web view.
Web view.
So when you're in a web view, the great thing about being in a web view is that you can navigate using your web view commands. So if there are buttons, if there's ever any buttons in this email, you could press B. But if there are links, you can jump straight to those links by pressing the letter L. Of course, you can continue to read this email in Braille, and eventually you'll get to that link. But if you just want to quickly jump to that link, I'm just going to press the letter L.
https://Humanware.
I'm just going to pause that by pressing enter and backspace, and that will take me to the first link that it's come across. And in this link, it gives you that ID number. Okay, so that ID number is coming up again into Braille as well as speech. It gives me the ID number of 979-382-45937. I'm just going to press enter on this link, and what will happen is it will prompt me for some actions.
Open with Firefox. Use a different app.
So at this stage, it's asking me, how do I want to open up this link? Now, this is a really important part. Whenever dealing with an Android environment and you're dealing with either links or documents and Android prompts you for this action, I would always recommend to choose just once, okay, and not the always options, because the last thing that we want to do is open up this particular link with the same application each time. Now, the application that we need, of course, is Zoom. So as I mentioned, it's really important that the student has Zoom pre-installed. Now, as I use my thumb keys, I'm going to navigate through this menu in the hope that Zoom is going to be there. I'm going to select Zoom. So let's use my thumb keys.
Chrome. Browser. Kiwi browser. Bottom. Open just always. Use a different Chrome browser. Kiwi browser.
Okay, and it currently isn't for some strange reason. And let me just
Bottom.
check on this.
My menu. Email. Keymail. Main menu. Contacts. Email.
Try again.
Keymail. Keymail. HTTPS. Open with Firefox. Kiwi browser. Bottom.
Okay,
Main
that
menu.
hasn't worked. One
File
second.
calculator. Keys reader. Braille. All applications. Main menu. All apps. Zoom. Bottom.
Just make sure I've got
Top.
Zoom on.
Drop sync. Zoom. Zoom. Settings. Button.
Okay, so Zoom is installed.
Main menu.
Try that again.
Email. Keymail. Open with Firefox. Use a different Chrome browser. Touch Braille. Chrome browser. Kiwi. Bottom.
Okay, so this is obviously this may be an issue with my device. I've got a beta version of my device, so it may be why it's not appearing. But what should happen here, most importantly, is Zoom should be listed here. So Zoom will be listed, and once you've selected Zoom, it's then important to make sure you choose the just once button, and that will then open up that link using the Zoom application. The other method, okay, now this is the method I'm going to show you because I can't go through this method. It's always good to have a backup plan, is to open up your Zoom application and enter the ID number. Okay, so this is the second scenario. So I'm going to go into my Zoom application. So from my main menu,
Contact.
I'm going to go to my
Showing
all
items
applications.
Keyword did not close the main menu. Contacts. Key list. Touch Braille on. Main menu. All apps.
And Zoom.
Amazon Music. Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to select my Zoom option,
Zoom.
and it's giving me some options.
Settings. Button.
So at this point, through my using my space bar to go forward, or my thumb keys, because this may be the first time that you're exploring an application, and I always mention that when you're new to an application, the first buttons that you should be looking at pressing is either your space bar or your thumb keys to get a feel of what that application is about, what buttons may be there, what links, what items, and so on. So I'm just going to use my outer thumb keys to jump me through this application to see what we have available.
Start a meeting. Start or join a video meeting on the go. Join a meeting button.
So we have join a meeting button,
Sign up button.
sign up button,
Sign in button.
and a sign in. Now from the Braille note side of things, I as a student do not need to have a sign in option. I don't need to sign in to Zoom. I don't need to sign up for Zoom. I just simply need to join a meeting at this point. So I'm going to go to the join a meeting.
Sign up. Join a meeting button.
And I'm going to press the enter key.
Meeting ID edit box. Zoom. Computer Braille is required.
So at this point, it's now given me my meeting ID. Now, this is the ID number that's from the email I mentioned. It gives you that ID number. The other option is if maybe the teacher yourselves are speaking to the student over a conference call or phone, that you'll be able to get that. You can copy the meeting ID from the email if you wish. That's the other thing that you can do. Or you can, and so once you've got that ID, you can then simply type the ID in this field here. So I'm going to type the ID, and it's in computer Braille. And for those that don't know computer Braille, it means involving the .6. So we're not doing any number sign here. And I know it's in computer Braille because it announced that it's computer Braille required. And my cursor key is showing .8. That's another useful tip to know whether you are in computer Braille or if you're in literary Braille. So I'm going to use my computer Braille entry keys here, and we're going to type in
9,
the ID number.
7, 9, 3, 8, 2, 4, 5, 9, 3, 7.
Okay, so that's my ID number that's been passed on to me. I'm now going to go to through this list and see what options that I have.
Recent meeting IDs button.
So there's a recent ID button here. Now this could be quite useful, certainly if students are continuously connecting to the same ID number. So that prevents the students having to get a new ID. So depending on your setup of Zoom, they can simply just press this button and navigate to the ID number, which will always be the same if you've got it set up that way.
Join with a personal link name.
There is an option to join with a personal link name. Again, this is dependent on the Zoom setup that you have.
Andrew, edit box, your name.
And this is the name of the device. Now, if this is the first time that you've set up Zoom from the students, it may come across as the Braille Note name. But what you can do is you can press enter at this point and you can edit that name so that it actually states your name rather than the Braille Note itself.
Join button.
And then we're going to press the join button. So we've entered our ID number. We're going to join.
Zoom. Please wait. Zoom.
Okay, now the actual voice may not be coming across now because I've got two Zoom interfaces on the go here. But the first prompt that you are given at this point is call over internet. And there are some options here. You've got call over the internet. As I use my thumb keys again, I have dial in. This is how do you want to communicate to the student? Do you want to use a telephone dial in option, or do you want to just use your internet to actually talk to the actual end student? And again, this point is really important. I'd always recommend call over the internet so that you can talk to the students and they can talk to you using the Braille Note Touch. I will stress though that when you are using the Braille Note Touch with Zoom, as if you're relying on the internal microphone, there can be some typing keys that you'll hear. So it may be something to worth suggesting is using an external Bluetooth headset for the student so that they don't have that sound transferring over to the microphone, because that can be disturbing for you. So just to give you a bit of a heads up that if you do choose call over the internet and you as a TV on the other hand may be hearing lots of tapping away, that's because the user's tapping and the microphone is near that keyboard. So again, another solution would be that you could have Bluetooth headsets that can be used for the student. So I'm going to choose call over internet here. And there may be some background sound that you may hear as I'm just connecting to my phone. And just to show you that I'm not lying, I'm going to start my video on my phone and you'll probably see me. There we are. So I'm now connected to my Zoom session. Now, navigating through this Zoom session at this stage, I mean, having the ability to see the teacher is not going to be relevant to the student. If you're sharing your screen at this point, it's not going to be relevant to the student because the student will not be able to grab any information from what you're sending. Just going to mute that, so stop any interference. So let's explore what we have available at this point. So the first option that I have as I use my thumb keys, we have an unmute button. If you want to communicate, if the student wants to communicate to the teacher, they can press the enter key or cursor key to unmute. So I'm going to press enter. And again, that turns into a mute if you want to stop mute. First letter navigation will also work throughout this whole application. So if you want to jump to certain buttons, then you can do. So if my focus was not on the mute button, I'm just going to move my thumb key away. And I'm going to press the letter M, and that will jump straight to the mute audio. And I'm going to press enter there. Just going to mute my other microphone on the other end. So at this stage, you can navigate using your thumb keys, your space bar, and first letter navigation. Remember, if you do want to unmute and your focus is away, that mute button now becomes unmute. So you'd press the letter U to jump to that particular button. Let's have a look at the next option. We have a start video option. Now, the Touch Plus does have a camera on board, but the camera is at the bottom of the device, so it's not really going to be usable for the user. Now, you can connect external mobile or external webcams, but again, with using external webcams, you will need to have a third-party application, and it doesn't work very seamless. You'll then have to share the screen of that application. Unfortunately, it's a restriction from Zoom itself, and it also applies in any other Android device, that you're unable to connect to an external camera. You'd have to use a third-party application that is showing the camera view at this point. But if need be, maybe it could be useful if the student is taking some images using the KNFB Reader app, and maybe the teacher or someone has sent them some printed documentations. This way, you'll be able to at least assist the user, so they could start their camera and they can show what they have on their desk in a printed way, and you could say to the student, that's the document that you need to use to scan using the KNFB Reader application. But other than that, really, the starting video is really not widely used at this stage. But what is going to be widely used and is important is for the student to share the screen, to share their Braille Note touchscreen, just like what I've done today, sharing my visual screen with yourselves. So I'm going to go to the share option, and I'm going to press enter. And this is going to give me several options at this stage. But what I want to jump to is screen. So I'm going to press the letter S to jump to screen. I'm now going to press enter. And that then should show my screen, but obviously I'm disconnected from yourselves now because I'm sharing my screen with the other Zoom sessions. So let me just share my screen at this point. Okay, so I've just stopped my share. I'm just going to reconnect so that everyone can see my screen. Okay, so that should now be coming through, so you now can see my screen. So that's the way that you would, as a student and a TVI, you'd get them to share their screen so that you can see exactly what you're seeing today in front of you on my screen. For those that are like dependent, I've got my Braille Note touchscreen being shown, my Braille viewer being shown as well. So no matter what I do, my audio will come through, my visual elements will come through. You'll be able to at least assist the student and what they're doing. So if it's a word processor, they need to create content. If they need to create math content, you'll be there. You can overview the students' work in real time. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's two scenarios. Unfortunately, the first scenario didn't work for some strange reason. That's probably because I've just installed a beta version of but I can assure you it should work. From when you enter that email application, clicking on that link will then simply load up Zoom, and you'll be offered the same things as what you've just seen today. Other things that you can do in Zoom is you can, of course, raise their hands. Okay, so perhaps you're actually supporting several different students. Maybe other students are not sharing their screen, or maybe they are sharing the screen. But as a user on Zoom, you can share, or you can raise your hands and indicating that you may have a question. So there may be some students that may not like to just unmute themselves and ask. Maybe they just want to be to raise their hands, and perhaps then you would send a chat conversation to them so that you can have a one-to-one chat conversation to that end user. Again, that's other options that you can do within the Zoom application. Just have a look else here, what we can say. So yeah, we've demonstrated how this is done from the Zoom application itself. So the other scenario is entering that ID number to join that Zoom session, or you can click on the link of the link that was shared with you by email. Now at this point, we'll mention that the free version of Zoom only offers 45, I think it's 40 or 45 minutes. And unless, of course, your school has a premium account, which will allow you to continue having a session until you terminate it. Now, the free session, to be honest, of 45 minutes is actually quite good. It's a perfect cue to have a break and gives you some time structure throughout your day. So even though if you're using the free version, either the student and the TVI, having that free or 45-minute window is actually a good sort of time cue where you can take a break and then rejoin and establish a new connection. Otherwise, you may have a premium account which allows you to use endless minutes of Zoom. Okay, so before I continue, I'm just going to stop there for some questions. Now, if you want some questions, you can go to the QA tab. You can also send a message on the chat. And if you want to raise your hands, I will enable that in just a moment. You can press the Alt plus Y keys on your keyboard to raise your hands. So let me just do that first of all. Okay, so if you do want to raise your hands and ask a question in person, just press the Alt plus Y on your keyboard, or you can go to the raise hand button using the Zoom. So I'm just going to have a look through some of the Q&As before I continue. Okay, so we have one question here. Many schools don't use Zoom due to privacy issues, so use Teams instead. Will the process be the same? Great question. Now, there's many different types of tools that can be used similar to Zoom. So Teams is a great example. That's another one that can be used. We have Google Hangouts. That's another one that can be used, and Team Viewer. So there are many different applications, and all will be supported on the Braille Note Touch. We've done previous webinars over the months of how to use the likes of Zoom and Teams and Team Viewer for that matter. So by all means, have a look through the archive videos. But yes, you're not restricted on using Zoom. However, since all these privacy issues have come about, Zoom has improved. So I certainly would question whether Zoom is not secure, because they have made significant improvements with their security policies. Okay, so another question here is, if your student does not have Zoom or Teams on their device, is it easy to help them install the software, and can you demonstrate this? So Teams or Zoom can be installed using the Play Store application. So first of all, the student will need to have a Play Store account. So they'll need to be signed up with a Google account, which again is free. You can do this. There are ways that you can do this remotely. It's not the easiest task, but it is possible. You can use Team Viewer, which allows you a bit more control on controlling the device. So it should allow you to assist installing the device. I won't have time to demonstrate that for you today, but if you want more information, I'm sure the team at Humanware Europe can assist you on that. As a QTVI, when students share on screen, we get echo on my voice when using the Braille Note Touch Plus. So this again comes down to where the microphone is in position on your touch and the speaker is. So again, another solution would be to use an external headset, so a Bluetooth headset or a USB headset that the user can use. That will then be a better way of communicating using the voice, because like you say there will be some echo sound potentially. If they're not talking, then I advise obviously to jump to the mute button and only unmute themselves when needed. But if you do want to have that two-way flow of conversation continuously, then recommend an external microphone or headset. Okay, is it possible to have a copy of instructions sent to our email address, please? So this webinar will be recorded, and for those that are registered and those that have joined us, I will send out the recorded webinar. If you still need further information, we do have a lot more archive webinars. We do have some useful guides that you can go through as well. Are there any plans to move to UEB in place of computer Braille? Okay, so yeah, this is a great question, and this probably came about because when I was in that field, it prompts you with computer Braille. For those that don't know, there are times on the Braille Note Touch that you will be using computer Braille. And what I would say, if you're new to computer Braille, think of it as grade 1 letters initially. But the numbers will be, of course, different. As I mentioned, there'll be no number sign, but you will need to add that .6. There is something that hopefully in the, going forward that we will look at replacing all the fields that are needing computer Braille to UEB. And one of the biggest reasons why we avoided that was because of the support of multiple different languages as well. And of course, UEB has taken a lot more, has been improved significantly now, that that really can justify replacing computer Braille. So going forward, yes, I think we will see something in the pipeline that will replace all fields that need computer Braille into your preferred literary Braille. Will we be able to access a copy of this webinar once finished today? I've already answered that one. So yes, everyone that has signed in today will receive the recorded webinar. USB headset will work. Yes. So if you do have a USB headset, that can work as well. Just make sure that it is Android compatible. And question, will this work on the Touch as well as the Touch Plus? Really, the Touch Plus going forward, really with applications not doing very well on the older versions. So I could not tell you if it's going to work on the Touch. You may come across some other challenges there, but certainly the Touch Plus is what I'm demonstrating with you today. Google Meet, again, is another application you can use. So yeah, and Google Classroom. You know, a lot of these learning management software that are being used today, Google Classroom is one of them. Again, works really well with the Braille Note Touch Plus. Okay, my schools are doing live lessons using Teams, and the students are being sent PowerPoints prior to the lessons so they can follow it. Is it possible for our students to flick between Teams and the presentation? So this is app dependent, and from Zoom, I can tell you from Zoom, you can actually log out of the shared environment. So you could log out of Zoom, and you could then quickly go to your presentation files. And I believe that will be the same for Teams. So what you can do, again, a useful tip to flick between different applications is using your square button, your contextual button at the very front. If you press that really quickly, it will toggle you between your current application and your previous application. So if you've got two applications open, maybe it's Teams, maybe it's your PowerPoint, simply pressing that square button twice quickly will switch between those two applications quickly. The other thing you can do is you can press that button, and that will take you into the list of all applications that are opened. Okay, and then you can choose which app to move to. But if it's just two apps you're working with, just double press that square shaped button at the front, and that will switch between those two apps. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly move forward. I'll come to some more of the Q&As in just a moment. So in terms of Zoom, I mentioned there's two scenarios. You can send the link by email. The student can click on the link, and that will open up that Zoom session. The second scenario is that you as the student will manually type in that ID. And one of the useful tips is make sure to turn on that Braille viewer so that you can see what the student is reading in Braille. And of course, make sure the student can share their screen. So the audio of the device comes through to yourself, as well as the visual side of things as well. But if you haven't got a Braille Note Touch, the Braille Note Touch Plus doesn't facilitate your students' needs, and Humanware has many more refreshable Braille solutions. One being the Mantis Q40. For those that don't know, the Mantis Q40 is one of our latest Braille displays, and it is unique in that it offers reading of Braille as a Braille display, but also has an integrated QWERTY keyboard. Now, this is a first of its kind as a Braille display. And for those that want more information on the Mantis Q40, please reach out to us. It is a great device. It has got some intelligence built into the device, which allows the student to work locally. But also you can use it to work with JAWS so that you can remote work as well there as well. So you can connect JAWS with your Mantis. The student then can use Zoom or any other remote application to work with the TBI. And we do also have some upcoming new Braille displays. As of January the 18th, we are launching 2 new Braille displays, and Brilliant BI40X and a Brilliant BI20X. These Braille displays will offer some great benefits to the end user, and of course remove barriers for the users. All displays will connect to screen readers, but will also have some intelligence built into these displays that will make them more productive. So not only can they just connect to a screen reader, you'll be able to use a Braille display to take notes on the device as well, amongst other applications that you can use. Again, please contact us if you want more information. We'll be more than happy to demonstrate and send further information to you. The other thing that we need to take into consideration is the troubleshooting of assistive technology. Now, again, even more so these times when we're working in the remote environment, it can be very frustrating because you're not there to assist. Okay, so maybe your student is finding a task difficult on the device. You're not there with the device to assist. So this is where we released last year, 2020, back in March, we released an application called the Humanware Buddy application, which is a free application and is available on iOS and on Android. And the main purpose of this was really to get all of our resources into one place. And for those that you've not discovered the Humanware Buddy app, I really would encourage you to download it, take a look at it. It has some great resources on all of our products. So if you're supporting several students, maybe they're not just Braille learners, maybe they are using a low vision product, all of our products that we support will be available on this application with some great resources on how to do certain tasks. Now, in addition to the step-by-step guides on achieving tasks, we have further improved the application, and we've introduced a learning portal, some kind, where you can manage, track your students' learning objectives. So perhaps you have a student that you are supporting and they're just new to the Braille Note Touch Plus. You can give them tasks to learn the device. So you could give them tasks to say, okay, the lessons today is would like you to learn how to create documents, would like you to save a document. And you can create your own lesson plans. There are lesson plans that are predefined by Humanware from beginners to advanced, but you can customize them. And in those lesson plans are then instructions on how to perform that task. Once the student is then able to perform that task, you can then check that task, and you'll be able to monitor the learning progress. So if they've got several tasks to achieve, you can quickly jump to their profile and see the percentage of what remains on that course. At the end of the course, the student can then receive a certificate of achievement. So the email or the certificate will be emailed directly to the user of the app. So if you're the TBI and you're monitoring the progress, the certificate will be sent to yourself, but it will have the student's name on. Okay, so from then you can either forward that on in an email. You could, if you wanted to, print or even emboss it if you like, and send that to the student to say that they've achieved that task. All lessons will be recorded on the device. Okay, they'll be saved, so at a later date you can check and track what task the student has achieved. Okay, let's take a look at some more Q&As here. And first question is it easy to move between using keyword, other files, and Zoom? Microsoft Teams was its own. So I've answered that question. So again, you can press the square shaped button. And if I just do this on my screen, just to show you, let's make sure that we can. I think I've lost my connection. Let me just reconnect. Okay, let me just stop my share and just share that once again. Okay, so at this point here, you can press the square shaped button at the very front. That will take you into a list of all applications that are currently open. But what you can do to easily switch between applications is double press that square shaped button. That will toggle you between one app to the other. So if I'm going to, let's go into my keyword options. As you mentioned, let's jump into keyword. And I'm going to create something, and I'm now going to switch to another application. So I'm just going to quickly press just one single press of that square shaped button. I'm going to jump to my Keymail. Okay, at this point, if I want to quickly jump to my keyword, double pressing that square button at the front will take me straight to my keyword. Again, if I want to go back to my Keymail, double press that button at the front, and that will just toggle between the two. So if you've got Teams, if you've got another application, it's a really easy way to jump across different apps. Does the pupil have to share their screen on Zoom for the teacher to see what they are typing? Yes, the answer is that is if the user hasn't shared their screen, there's no way of you finding what they've typed, unless of course they send you the file. So that's the other thing that they could do. So if you don't want to overlook what they're doing and you just want to be in communication with them, that's fine. They'll be able then to send the work to you. Maybe it's by an email, or maybe by a cloud-based storage. They want to send their work to you that you can then later review. Okay, again, if you want to ask any questions, you can raise your hand. So we have someone here, Joshua. Hi, Joshua. I'm just going to allow you to talk. If you press Alt and A, you can unmute yourself.
Apologies, that was a mistake. I don't know how that happened. I've taken my hand.
Okay, no problem, Joshua. Okay, we have Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. I just wondered if you could direct me to some more information about computer Braille, and because it's not something that I'm familiar with. So is there an idiot's guide so that if we did have to put the Zoom information, the login number in, I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Sure, and I believe in the, again, if you've got the Humanware Buddy application, Wendy.
Yes, I have.
And I believe there is a document about computer Braille in there. If there isn't, please reach out to Humanware about that. I'm sure we have some documentation on computer Braille. I will stress that it's only used in several different situations. The first situation is when you're in a web browser. Okay, so just think of computer Braille as working in grade 1 initially. It's only when you come to numbers and punctuations where it will be changed. But you know, it's very limited on where you use computer Braille. Okay, but reach out to our support team, or if you want to have a look through the Buddy app, I'm sure there is some guides on computer Braille.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hello, Emily.
Yeah.
Hi, Emily.
I'm Emily. I'm visually impaired. Hiya, I'm visually impaired myself, and I support a visually impaired pupil one-to-one.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just wondering if they shared their screen with me, would I be able to then see the work that they've written in Braille, or would it just come up as an image on the screen?
Yeah, unfortunately, Zoom hasn't sort of got that accessibility across. Really, it's a struggle, I think, for any kind of remote stuff, so that you'll be able to read what they're typing in Braille. So it's just going to come across as a visual screen at this point.
Right, okay.
What you can do, I mean, in this situation, there are things like Teams, Team Viewer. Team Viewer is another really useful application that you can use. That has a bit more control, and but again, it's going to be difficult to read physically what they've got in Braille. They'll have to probably send you the document here, Emily. That's what I would advise, is once they're finished with their document, if you use Team Viewer, you can actually grab the contents. You can actually grab the contents, and you'll be then able to read that in Braille on the device that you use.
Right, that would be more helpful. Yeah, because if it's just a screen share, obviously I wouldn't be able to read at all. But,
exactly. Definitely have a look into the Team Viewer application, and we did some previous webinars actually using Team Viewer, and it's they recently launched a new update on Team Viewer that gives you a bit more options than what Zoom does. I mean, Zoom, what I'm demonstrating today, is great to show the screen so that the TVI and the student can see what's going on. But if you also suffer from a vision impairment, then of course then it's not going to be ideal for you. So there are other applications, but I definitely would recommend in that case Team Viewer may be a good solution for you.
Yeah, I think I'll look at that. Yeah, because I'm going to be doing some virtual lessons with them soon. So yeah,
okay.
I'll look into that.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Emily. Okay, so let's go to some of the other questions here. We've got a lot of questions to go through. Just bear with me and try and get through most of them. So answered about the computer Braille. Okay. Okay, next question is, can you please do a session like this for the Prodigy Connect? I believe there's some more members of our team in here. So if those that are there, Alan, if you're there, just mention that they certainly would like to have a webinar using Prodigy Connect with a similar session using Zoom. Please, can you send me information about the products you have just mentioned? This is to Katie. So Katie, please reach out to Humanware. If you want to reach out to us, it's eu.sales@humanware.com. You can contact us on 01933 415 800. And we'll be more than happy to assist and send those some further information. We even give some demonstrations. I believe we're doing demonstrations over sessions like Zoom, for example, as well. My Buddy app crashes whenever I try to access the how-to guides. What can I do about this? The videos work really well. So, okay, so in the Buddy application, I believe if you're using an iPad, then there was an issue going to the how-to guides. Now, there's two ways to go through the how-to guides. There's going through the main menu itself. So there is a dashboard, and there's also a banner bar where you can go to the how-to guides. Now, one of those, and I can't remember off the top of my head which one, doesn't allow you in, certainly when you're using an iPad. So Joe, just please let me know, is it an iPad? If it's not an iPad, I'd like to know a bit more. Send me an email, send the tech team an email. I'd like to get to the bottom of that issue. Okay, Allison, we have your hand raised. Hello, Allison.
Hiya there.
Hiya.
I've got no particular questions at the moment. I've just been listening. We've got a good solid team that knows a lot of things, so it was just an interest thing that was joining on today.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll lower your hand then in that case. Thanks very much, Allison.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
We also have another Allison. Just raise the hand. Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Hi, Allison.
Yes. Hi. It was just about, I was interested to find, and I'd heard from Lucky Singh as well, about setting up one of these learning profiles. And I just wondered if it was quite simple to do using the Buddy app. For use with the Braille Note Touch Plus app, I should have hastened to add.
Oh, right, yes. So this is using the Humanware Buddy app or the learning profiles that the tables that we introduced.
Well, I haven't looked at anything yet because I've been so busy, believe it or not, even with this lockdown. But ideally, I'd like to use these learning profiles.
Okay. Maybe there's a couple of things there. There's a couple of things, Allison. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, there's the learning profiles that you have on the Braille Note Touch, and this is something that we've recently we pushed onto the Braille Note Touch, where the user learns Braille following the curriculum of the Takeoff series. Is that what you mean, or do you mean using the Humanware Buddy application on the phone, which gives you resources?
I'm not sure. Anything that can help me, that would help him learn. I'm introducing him actually this week. So we've done create and save documents yesterday.
Okay, right. Is he Braille proficient? Is he great?
He's only 7. He's only 7.
Okay.
He's just started to use contracted Braille, but he is responding very, very well, very quickly.
Okay, so in that case, then it sounds to me that maybe it's the application of the Humanware Buddy app that'd be really useful for you and your student, so that you can set up tasks, objectives for your student to go through, and then they can then demonstrate that to you as well. So once they're competent at it, once they've read the instructions, the step-by-step guides, they can then showcase that to you that they've learned that, and you can tick it off. And then once they've finished that course, you can send them a certificate of achievement for that matter. So that is something, yes, you can do that. If they're competent on grade 2 contracted Braille, then that's great. They don't need to go through the Takeoff series that I mentioned about the learning profiles, because there is a way. If you have got students that are in between Braille grades, okay, and we've all come across that, and your student sounds like he's coming out the other way now. He's coming very competent at grade 2, but before that, there was the in-between stage, right, Allison? There's like between grade 1 and grade 2, and we've actually accommodated that by introducing some learning tables on the Braille device. So for those that this is for everyone really, for those that have got students like that, certainly really look into those Braille profiles that will allow the student to learn the device at the same time as learning Braille. But for yourself, Allison,
similar to Duxbury then, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And not many TVIs know that these tables, these learning tables, are in Duxbury. For many years that I went to do a lot of training amongst the schools in the UK, not many people knew about that. It's like a hidden gem. So,
it is, because it saves you ages. You just sets it up to link to the customized Braille the kids know. I love that.
Exactly, and that's the same applies to the Braille Note Touch. The Braille Note Touch Plus, you can set that to the student's current Braille learning, and of course you have access now, thanks to the RNIB. We've got access to the full UEB takeoff series that is available for free of charge for our customers. Okay, so
Brilliant. Brilliant.
okay, so yeah, have a look at the Humanware Buddy app, Allison, and what you'll then need to do is to create your student's profile. It's relatively easy. Again, we've got some really useful how-to guides, a video snapshot within our YouTube channel. And so it gives you instructions on how to set up a profile name, how to set up your own lessons. Okay.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Take care, Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another Allison. There's a lot of Allisons today. Hi, Allison. Okay, Allison, if you just want to unmute yourself, it's Alt+A. Alt+A. If not, I'm going to give you a countdown to 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm just going to move on to someone else for now. And if you do want to continue, to please raise your hand again. I'm just going to lower it, but if you do want to speak up, then just raise your hand again. We'll try again in just a moment. Next time we have Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, sorry, me again. Three things just based on what you'd said. So you just said about the learning tables on the Braille Note Touch. So I was told at some training last year that when the students braille themselves on the Braille Note Touch, that it automatically corrects to fully contracted Braille. So if you emboss it comes out. So how do I access that? Because that's when I've not been using it as much for writing, because I want to see how the student is applying their Braille knowledge to emboss it off. So what are the learning tables that you were talking about? I've not come across that on the Braille Note Touch. I know about it on Duxbury, but not on the Braille Note Touch.
Okay, so Wendy, this applies to the Braille Note Touch Plus only. I don't know if you've got the Plus or if you've got the original Touch.
No, we've only got the original Touch.
Right, yeah, unfortunately the Touch Plus, we pushed an update recently that allowed a student to have access to these learning tables, and this thing gives you the ability to learn with the device. So you can follow the curriculum of the takeoff series, and if you're at a certain level, maybe it's at 1.3, you'll only know certain contractions, and those contractions will be shown on your display, but also you can input those contractions on the Braille device as well. So unfortunately, it's only available on the Touch Plus, not the Touch. It's probably why you haven't had access to them, Wendy.
Yeah. So I think it is, I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but it is frustrating because we haven't had the devices that long, and it is a problem when, you know, obviously with the financial situation, that authorities aren't able to upgrade to a new product, but when it's something they need, it is frustrating. I know you can't do anything about that, but I'm just sharing my pain. The other thing you mentioned about something not working on the Braille Note Touch as opposed to the Braille Note Touch Plus when you were talking about Zoom. So the presentation you've just done, would that work on a Touch, or would that only work on a Touch Plus?
So it's the demonstration I did was on using the Touch Plus. Of course, when you're using the Touch, it's on a different platform, Android platform. So I can't guarantee it's going to be very similar. There might be some different experiences. Not to say that it might not be possible, but it may be completely different to what I've just shown slightly. You know, some of the buttons may be different. Because Zoom, obviously, as an app, third-party app, they have to stay updated with the platform, the Android environment. There will, of course, be some changes. So I can't guarantee that that's going to be the same. But I mean, I do know certain people that still use the Touch in the remote situation, of course, whether they use Teams, whether they use TeamViewer. There are many different applications, but it may be a different experience, Wendy.
Okay, and the Buddy app only has the facility for the Braille Note Touch Plus, doesn't it? So what's difficult to know as a teacher when we're not in the position to upgrade to the latest equipment is knowing what we can do on the Touch as opposed to the Touch Plus. If
it's a good question. Yeah,
it would be really, really, really helpful to have the Touch Plus. I mean, I've got a student that's still using an Apex as well, just because he's not in the position to upgrade it. And it would be really useful on the Buddy app to have some way of actually finding out what the difference is between the Touch and the Touch Plus.
Okay,
a
we do have. I mean, we do have like some sort of one pages that give you the differences. But of course, what are you after? A full section of just the touch itself? Because the majority of the touch is in that Touch Plus. But like you said, there's a few exceptions, like the learning tables being one of them, that you will not be able to do. That's something we will certainly look at going forward. Of course, the Apex. That's something we can't, because it's way over 10 years old, and I know they like their Apexes, but fortunately, it's something we can't do. But I'll have a look at the touch for you, Wendy, to see maybe as a documentation that we could put in the Buddy app just to notice some of the differences.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know something's not working because you're not doing it correctly, or because the device doesn't do it. It would be useful to have, even if it was just a list of this isn't possible in the Braille Note Touch, would be really helpful.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, that sounds to me like, well, we can create a document in the Buddy app that says Braille Note Touch only, and then it lists some of the guides that are not available for the touch. Okay, I'll have a look into that, Wendy. Thanks for that.
That would be really helpful. Sorry, one more thing, and then I'll go away. Did you mention just now that the takeoff books are available now on Bookshare that could then be read on the Braille Note Touch?
So we've had a recent partnership with the RNIB, and we've got access to the Takeoff series, the UB Takeoff series. That is available from our website. So if you go to our website, you can download the Teacher's Handbook, and you can download the BRF files. And this, of course, you can still do on the Touch, but what you will not be able to do on the original Touch is set those different learning tables. If that makes sense. So you certainly have access to it, Wendy. So by all means, go to humanware.com, have a look on our support page, and there'll be a section about learning tables under the Braille Note Touch, and you'll be able to download those free of charge. And of course, it's great because the students can be get more engaged with learning Braille, as there's some stories involved and some fun questions at the very end.
So you'd need to have the Touch Plus then to only have the contractions linked to the Takeoff series. If I was trying that on a Touch as opposed to a Touch Plus, it would correct it to fully contracted Braille again. Yes,
at this stage, yeah, but you can still use the Touch using the application called KeyBRF. KeyBRF is the application that I would recommend for them to use at this stage, because it will basically allow whatever they've typed in. But the only thing is that you will not be able to see that visually in text, but at least then you can see the Braille, so that you can validate to make sure that the Braille that they're using is correct. So have you tried that at all, Wendy? Have you tried using KeyBRF?
I am familiar with that in terms of an embosser, but I haven't used it on the Braille Note Touch, because from when you're brailing in, it seems to correct it.
No, KeyBRF on the Touch will not correct it. Will not automatically translate to contractions. KeyBRF is just a Braille editor application that will just take whatever you've pressed. The only difference is it's not going to translate into a text document or docx document for you to visually see the text, but it's a good way, certainly for you to validate if the student is using the correct Braille. So you'll see it all in SimBraille, basically.
So where do you access that from then?
So that's available from the all applications. So in the, I'll just give you a quick demonstration now. If you go to the all applications on your Touch, and under all applications, if you press the letter K, that will jump to KeyBRF. Now in KeyBRF, it's a bit like it's a Braille editor. You can create a document, and all that you're doing here is just Brailling. So at this stage, I can type in A, B, C, D, and it just will not automatically translate. So if I do letter K, the space, it's not going to change it to knowledge. It's keeping the Braille there. So at this point, you as a TVI can work remotely. You can see the Braille, what they're doing, what they're typing, and you can correct them as well. So you can say, oh, that word is incorrect. You used the wrong contraction.
Can you emboss from that as well?
Yes, so once you've saved the file will be saved as a BRF file. So yes, you'll be able to then emboss that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I have a few more minutes. Let's go to Emily. Try Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hiya. I didn't necessarily have a question as such, but I just wanted to add something to what Wendy was saying earlier.
Okay.
Maybe answer one of her questions and maybe ask a question to her as well. Basically, I don't know what the budget is that she's got, but I don't know whether Wendy, whether you know, that you can upgrade from the Braille Note Touch without it costing as much money, isn't it? Whereas if you replace the device and have a Braille Note Plus, Touch Plus, it'll cost more money, but you can actually send the Touch back, can't you, and have an upgrade on that, and it will cost less.
So for a boost up plan, yes.
Yeah,
so there was a boost up plan that was available. Yeah, that allows you to upgrade to the Touch Plus. I do have Alan, who may want to talk a bit more about that, perhaps. So, do you have any other questions, Emily?
I think I haven't necessarily got any other questions. I just thought I'd mention that just to sort of let her know and just wonder if she was aware of that. That's all.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Emily. Okay, Alan.
Andrew, okay, I think everybody can hear me. First of all, I just want to say thank you to you for taking out of your day. I know how busy you are, and also thank you to everybody joining us today, teachers, and I think parents as well. I think, you know, we want to make sure that young people of all ages using Braille equipment continue their learning over the next weeks and months, and that's why we brought this together very quickly, because, you know, we know so many people are going to be at home. So I really want to thank you for that. In answer, I think Emily just raised it in Wendy's question. Yes, the Boost program, we do have some Boost, the parts, the kits, where people can upgrade from the Touch to the Touch Plus. However, they are limited. When they've got, I think it's one of the supermarkets says, when they've gone, they've gone. So we do have this path, so you don't have to buy brand new equipment. The price, I can tell you, is 1495, and that includes a collection and return delivery and the work done. So you've got the very latest model where you've got all these super duper features. And they're particularly important now, as we're looking at what we're doing today. Zoom, Teams, Hangouts, and also those UV learning tables, PDF support. The list goes on and on. I would really urge anybody who has Touch to really consider moving up to Touch Plus, but just please be warned, if it's too late, we might not have the kits available to do that. So I'd also say, Andrew, you covered a lot, but we've come to the end of this session. But if anybody wants to go through with, say, looking at teams, looking at their individual needs, please contact your local representative, contact one of the support team. We can do this. Martin Roberts, who's our blindness specialist in the UK, he's been doing lots of sessions with people on these different platforms as well, so it'll be very individualized. Please reach out to us. We want to help. We're passionate about the students getting the best. I've had such good feedback from parents, particularly when I've had positive reaction. That's always good to hear. So please come to us, contact me, contact your local representative, contact Martin direct, contact the support team if that's your normal contact. And we'd be delighted to help out. And we'll also put something together on the low vision products as well. Okay, so again, thank you, Andrew, for your help and presenting today. Such a good presentation.
Thanks, Alan. And I'll just finish off that. I mean, there's been a lot of questions that have been flown around. I do apologize that I haven't got to everyone, but there's a lot of questions about the Buddy app. But please, if you've already got the Buddy app, have a look to see if there's an update available, because many of the questions that are coming my way include, can you send a guide by email? Yes, you can. You can do that from the recent update of the Buddy app. So just make sure that you are updated. Check your Play Store, check the Apple Store to update your Buddy app, and that will release some new further enhancements for you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.